Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fueling Tomorrow. I'm your host, Erin Bailey. We're back for season 3, and today I am joined by Jack Harper. Among many other things, he's the chairman of the Permian Strategic Partnership. And Jack, thank you so much for joining us today.
You bet. I'm honored to be here.
You've had a career that spans some pivotal moments in oil and gas, starting at Tom Brown to Concho, ConocoPhillips, to advising, investing, and now leading PSP. When you reflect on your career so far, what are you most proud of and why?
Gosh, time flies. Number one, it's 30 years in. I'm really most proud of a couple of things. The industry that we work in. Number one, I can't imagine another industry that works harder and has better people than the one that we're a part of. So I'm very proud to have my small part in that. And then I'm proud of all the people that I've been able to work with and work together with over the years. At Diamondback, there's some that I'm very proud of: Jerry Thompson,
Mhm.
David Meek, and Alex Mata, to name a few. So that's really it. It's all about people. And when I've stepped away from my corporate life, that's what I miss the most. And so I'm always trying to recreate that.
And probably one of the best parts about being as Midland is those people are never that far away.
Very true. Very true. And I've worked for many larger employers in Midland over the years. So it's been fun to see the network of connections and people go to new places and do big things. And that's what it's all about.
And you graduated from Baylor with a degree in finance.
I did. Never thought that would bring me to Midland.
Yeah.
But so I grew up in San Marcos,
Okay.
and I met a Midland girl named Shelley Davis in at Baylor. And we lived in Dallas for 3 years right out of college. I actually moved to Dallas because she was already living there, and I thought I just better get there and find a job. I didn't really know what I was gonna do. I wanted to use my finance degree, um, but I started in high-tech consulting actually,
Okay.
in the Metroplex, which then morphed into an attempt to use my finance degree at Payne Weber, which is now part of UBS. But right as I was about to be cut loose and doing that, this opportunity came up out here.
And that was with Tom Brown.
Tom Brown,
I was
that
going to
was
ask what were your first steps into the industry, but
well,
how'd you
it
get from
was
Dallas to here?
well, I give my wife and her family credit for being from here and knowing Don and they had just made an acquisition. They needed somebody to do investor relations, which I've said this many times, but that was really code for carrying Don's bag around the country. And I was really good at that. Rolled up the maps at the end of the meeting. And
Yeah. You're like, I got this.
yes, it's some skill set that I already had. I didn't even have to learn more. But that's how I started, and following him around the country, learning how to take a really complicated business and describe it to investors who were no doubt smart, but didn't really understand our business. So there is an art to being able to simplify our really complicated business. And he taught me that. I literally should have been paying him for that experience, and did that for about 3 years there until Don went to Washington and I came back to Midland. I had moved to Denver in the meantime. We moved our headquarters in
Yeah.
1999 to Denver.
And do you think being able to relate what you were doing into layman's terms for investors, do you think your finance degree helped with that? Or did you
I
really
do.
just learn that along the way?
I do. I think that was not an anticipated use of the finance degree, but it came in very handy. And, I think finance is an underrated but really important part of our business. It's You have to have land and you have to have great technical people to get the most out of it. But all the trouble that's happened in our industry with companies has been financial. The primary amount of bad trouble has been uh, too much leverage or incorrect financing of your business. So I do think it comes in handy sometime.
And then talk to us about the progression through the rest of your career to where you are now. Did you have mentors that really helped guide you along the way?
Absolutely, and this is something that I try to encourage when people say, "Gosh, what should I be thinking about early in my career?"
Mhm.
That's always top of the list. Is number one, do all the basics, get to work on time, work hard, don't leave at 4:59 if it's 5 o'clock when you leave. Just do all the right things, but also find a sponsor. and somebody that advocates for you. And it takes working hard and doing everything right. But I can say with 100% certainty, without my sponsors, my outcome in this business would have been way different. And I've already mentioned Don Evans. He's my primary and still very, very close friend, and has always been a mentor and sponsor for me for 30 years. And then many others along the way. Clearly, Tim Leach at Concho
Mhm.
was one that I put in that exact same category. And so it's just you have to do the work, but you also have to have people that are looking a few steps ahead of where you are to um, to help you progress through your career quickly.
And if someone came to you, a young, well, really a young person in any industry, and they came to you and they said, I think I'm doing all the right things, but I'm really struggling to find that person, what advice would you give them?
Gosh, well, I try harder. No, that's kidding. But I'd say keep your head down. Hard work and being able to get along with people seems to rise to the top of
Mhm.
almost any organization. And frankly, common sense. Just it's way
It's not so
underrated.
common nowadays.
It is not so common, and I think those things. And if you do that long enough and you don't end up with that sponsor, maybe it's time to think about something else.
And as you look from where you started in the oil and gas industry to now, how has the Permian Basin evolved over that time? And what do you think there's something that people outside the region don't fully understand about it still?
Gosh, there's so many. You almost have to break that into the evolution of the oil and gas basin and then the lifestyle and the life. But looking at the oil and gas side of it, so much has happened since I've been here. If when I got here, I remember asking my about to be father. Well, he was actually my father-in-law already. I said, "Is there going to be enough to do to justify moving out here?"
Yeah.
And he gave me the old adage that you've heard many times is the best place to look for oil and gas is where it's been found.
Mhm.
And the Permian was a great example even 30 years ago of that. And I could still make the same statement today. But I was entering out here at a time when if you go back in history and think in the early 70s, the Permian had peaked at about 2 million barrels of oil a day. It then proceeded to go on about a 35-year decline. So 2 million barrels down to about, call it seven or 800,000 barrels a day. And that was still going on when I got here
You're
in the
like,
late night. And it happened for another 10 years. And it wasn't until the import of frac technology and the vertical Wolfberry play, the Northwest Shelf up in New Mexico, was that decline somewhat arrested. And then the rest is kind of history. But the other thing people outside of here don't really appreciate is how relevant this area is, not just to not locally, not to the state, but really on a world stage. I mean,
Mhm.
we are 6% plus, almost 7% of the world's oil production coming out of this area that we live in, and that's a big deal. And we have more room to go.
And for the people outside of the region, you touched on how you could break it into two pieces, the industry and the life part of it. From your time here, how has Midland changed? I
Gosh,
mean, we've seen it, but
so I guess I was about 25 years old when I moved here, and after being here a month or so, Shelly and I would have quiet conversations and say, "We may turn the lights out here." I mean, this may be that there's not anybody because there was a little bit of a lull, and not only has that turned around, it's one of my favorite things about being out here is how many young people are in the industry, how vibrant it is. And I could say the same thing about the community. That's you can just feel it and see it. And we're as time goes by, we're adding more quality of life things. And I think that momentum is only gathering. And that's going to continue to make it improve.
and you'd been in the industry for almost a decade when the shale revolution really took off. What were your initial thoughts on horizontal drilling? And what is it like now to know that people are drilling laterals almost 5 miles long?
It's incredible. And I'm embarrassed to say, but we weren't alone in this thinking that we were slow to adapt because back then in the mid 90s, if you had more than 3 years of inventory, you were either making it up or you had something special that nobody else had. It was very rare. And in fact, the companies that traded at the highest multiples were offshore companies with 3 year reserve lives, but that's just the mindset of the industry. Um, so all that's changed. And then we drilled vertical wells for several years, and we got them to where they were more efficient. The costs were getting better. We were happy with our rates of return. So it was kind of one of those, if it's not broke, why should
Yeah,
we
don't fix it.
why change? But we quickly learned that, okay, this horizontal drilling
It's
is a
legit.
big time game changer, and you can drill it right in and amongst where those vertical wells were drilled, and the drainage is just so small that there's plenty more oil to be had.
And
And yeah, the long laterals, the horseshoe wells, it's just phenomenal. The technology, and there's more room to go, and we're still only recovering somewhere in the low double digits.
mhm.
So
From now, where do you see the Permian Basin and the industry going over the next decade?
I think there's so much opportunity, and I put my money where my mouth is with my own kids and where with young people that ask my advice. I think now is as good a time to enter this industry as ever. Not only because most of the young people are going a different direction, but this is the technology being employed here and the advancements we're seeing in efficiencies. What used to be tier two and tier three a few years ago because of cost and efficiency is now tier one and two. There's deeper zones. There's just a lot to be done out here for a long period of time. And even when the oil production plateaus at whatever it plateaus at, this is going to be a huge maintenance operation that's going to take billions and billions of dollars of capital every year just to hold it flat. And so I'm as optimistic about the future of the Permian as I've ever been.
And how do you think companies will either need to evolve or diversify to stay competitive?
Well, our business has been really good at evolving and changing over time, and it's always we've always been in that mode because something drastic changes and you just have to adapt. And so I think companies are changing the style of business. They're looking at new areas and different businesses where you can apply the technology that's made you so good to other parts of the oil and gas business, or maybe something else like power or hydrogen
Mhm.
or uh, carbon capture, whatever it may be. But taking all the smart people you have and channeling them into a new direction is exciting. And all the talk about data centers and AI and all the things that are going to require, they're all going to require a lot of energy. And so, especially on the natural gas side. So I think there's job security for a while in this business.
And you mentioned AI. We've already seen a lot of changes in technologies and automation in the industry now, but where do you think AI is going to take that?
It's the sky's the limit. I'm so antiquated. I'm just now using Grok on my phone. So, I'm the terrible person to ask about this, but it's incredible. I mean, when I was active, I was starting to see in the corporate world, I was seeing the beginnings of it with things on the land side that was
Mhm.
just very low hanging fruit. But really, the things that can be done, I can really hardly imagine in terms of fine tuning completions. Just all the directional tools and things that can benefit from AI will be fantastic. And so I not to mention the large increase in demand for the product.
Yes. And you recently stepped into the role of chairman for PSP.
Yes.
What led you to, or what motivated you to take on that role at this point in your career?
Well, the PSP is a wonderful organization. I had a front row seat when it was formed because Concho was one of the original companies, along with Diamondback and
Mhm.
Pioneer and several others. And it just represents something that we people have been thinking about and hoping for around here for a long time, which is just a consolidated voice and consolidated effort to make life better out here and improve education, healthcare, roads and workforce readiness, and that's really what the PSP is all about. The former chairman was my mentor, so this has
Yes.
been kind of a fun bookend to our careers. Don Evans, I don't think it would have been a it would have happened as effectively as it had without him, but he was ready to move on, and this was a great chance for me to just give a little bit back to an area that we love so much.
And what was it like to follow in the footsteps of Don, who's been a friend and a mentor for so long?
Well, it's impossible, number one, but I'm trying my best, and feel the pressure to keep up all the good things that he was a part of. And I just want to give a shout out to Tracy Bentley and her team. They do great work every day. They are the ones doing all the work. I can assure you, and there's more great things to come. And for those that may not be that familiar, I would just say that. Uh, the PSP has served as really a seed capital for so many really important things around the area. The member companies have collectively put in over $200 million that have been leveraged more than 10 times. So over about $2.3 billion of aggregate funds going towards those four pillars that I mentioned before.
And you mentioned PSP and its members, including Diamondback, work to just make a positive impact across the region. As you look for 2026, what are you looking forward to for the PSP? And are there any specific projects that you want to highlight that will come to fruition this year?
There's high impact things happening in all of those areas that I talked about, the 27 member companies and the two university systems, being University of Texas and Texas Tech, are very engaged. We have some projects I could talk about and some that I can't, but suffice it to say, I think our momentum is strong, and the team is hard at work, and I look forward to what this year brings.
And as you look back over the projects that have already happened, is there one that sticks out to you the most?
Well, I think one of the signature projects is, of course, the Beacon Alliance out at the corner of 191 and 1788. Diamondback was very kind to donate some land to kind of kick that thing off, and we've been able to add a little bit to it. And the behavioral health hospital is almost complete; should be opening, gosh, in April of this year. So that is a and there's more to be done out there. So that would be one. And then all things in education, I think the way I'm thinking about education here is it's going to take a lot of things over a long period of time to turn the tide. And Midland is like the state and like the country in terms of it has challenges with
Mhm.
education, but we have great people at our local school districts, and we have great people in foundations and charitable organizations wanting to help them. It's just kind of trying to get everybody aligned, moving in the same direction.
And from your seat, you've been in Midland for a long time. What is it like to work with the people? And you got to see the shift of people really wanting to invest in Midland and make it a better place.
There it felt like there was a little bit of a gap in time where there wasn't as much of that as we needed, but through individuals and corporations, and I just truly can't say enough nice things about Diamondback and the impact that they've had on all these projects I'm talking about, improving quality of place here. Uh, but other people have come alongside, and that's just been great to see. That to me is one of the things that we've been missing. That now we have the most aligned groups of people that I've ever
Mhm.
seen to work on that, between things like the PSP, the large foundations like Scarborough Foundation, Abel Hanger, Marie Hall, Warren. All these foundations are very powerful too in the impact they can have.
And we've said it on the podcast before, but it's an exciting time to be in Midland.
I think it's really exciting, and I'm trying to convince one of my three daughters, in case they see this, or maybe all three, to come
Yeah.
back to Midland, because there's such a great group of people, and you go to these young professionals events, and
Mhm.
there's just so much to see and do, and yeah, as they say about Midland, the sky's the limit.
I know. I'm from Houston and a lot of my friends are there and they're like, "We can't believe you're still in Midland." I'm like, "It sucks you in. The
It
people are
does.
so great." Once you have the community here, it's hard to leave.
Yeah, and the lifestyle is very easy. I mean, we jokingly talk about the burdensome commute from Green Tree out to
Yeah.
downtown, and that's nothing in Houston or Dallas or
Mhm.
Austin. But it's all relative, I suppose.
And as we close, what is one thing that excites you about the future of the Permian Basin and the young leaders we have for the industry today?
Well, I think you nailed it there with the last thing you said. It's just all the young leaders, all the energy, this average age being so young, and so many young kids. We have to provide all the things that will keep everyone interested in staying
Mhm.
out here. But when you have young, smart people engaged in anything, whether it's a business or in a community, I think you're going to see good things happen, and that's what I'm expecting.
Jack, thank you so much.
You bet.
Is
Thank you
there
for the.
anything else you'd like to add?
No, well, thank you for doing what you're doing, and this is it's a fun time to be in this business.
Yes. Everyone, on behalf of Jack and myself, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll chat next time.